Hey guys, tonight we sail out into the salty air of Siriphos, a tiny island where the waves whisper secrets and the wind seems to know your name. You live here, quietly, fishing by day and dreaming by night, mostly about better weather and fewer sea urchins in your sandals. But tonight is not like the others. The water moves differently. The stars blink like they're watching, and you're about to find out you're not who you think you are. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is where you are. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. It starts the way most days do, knees deep in water, nets in hand, trying to ignore the smell of decaying seaweed and pretending you're not being watched by that one overly judgmental gull. You toss your net out with a grunt. It lands with a slap on the surface, rippling across the silver-blue mirror of the Aegean. The rhythm of fishing is all you've known. As far as you're concerned, just Perseus, son of Dano, islander. Very average, kind of sunburned. But today, the sea answers back. The net resists, tugging not like a fish, but like it's been hooked to the base of the world. You pull, muscles aching, and it emerges heavy, barnacle-covered, humming. It's not fish, it's something else. At first you think it's a shield, but the shape is too irregular, too old. As you scrape away sea grit, you find markings Greek letters barely legible. Spelling out your name, it should be impossible. You glance around, no one's watching, unless you count a mildly horrified crab that's scuttling away like it saw something it shouldn't. You take the object home, tucked under your tunic. That night, as you lay it beside your cot, it sings. Not loudly, just a soft, rhythmic hum, almost like it's breathing. The sound seems to curl up into your dreams, wrapping around your mind like sea foam. You dream of a mountain taller than anything you've ever seen, of eyes like lightning, of a woman with snakes in her hair crying at the edge of the world. You wake up, sweating. Dano is in the kitchen, hands deep in flour, pretending not to notice how pale you look. Bad dreams? She asks, too casually. You nod, mouth dry. Weird ones, she shrugs. Island air plays tricks. You don't buy it, but you don't press. That day, back on the beach, the gull is missing. So is the crab. The sea is too. Still, you skip fishing altogether, drawn instead to a tide pool that's never been there before. Inside is another object not old. This time, but glimmering like fresh silver, shaped like a coin, yet warm to the touch. You pick it up. Whispers are wrapped in your ears. Not words, not yet. Just feelings, curiosity, pride, a thunderous sense of being seen. You drop it, but it vanishes before hitting the sand. Vanishes. You stand there for a long time, staring at nothing, trying to piece together a puzzle that hasn't revealed itself yet. And for the first time, you wonder, am I being followed? Or am I being summoned? Historians still debate if Siriphos was ever truly isolated. Some argue trade routes touched it more than records admit. Others suggest it was a favored hiding spot. For divine secrets, less remote island and more Olympian outpost in disguise. That night, the stars above you flicker again, this time, rearranging. You blink once, twice, and then it's gone. But for a heartbeat, they formed a pattern, one you'll see again. Little do you know, this is only the first ripple. The gods don't knock when they enter your life. They drop through the ceiling, usually on fire, and they've just noticed you're awake. Asterisk, asterisk, the next morning. The sea is bristling with wind and foam, as if it had secrets to spit back at you. You head out with your net again because old habits. Die-hardened fish don't catch themselves, but your mind is still swirling with dreams and whispers. You keep glancing over your shoulder, like you expect Poseidon himself to rise up and critique your casting technique. Halfway through the morning, something snags the net again, this time lighter, smoother. You tug it in, expecting driftwood. Or maybe another cursed crab. But no, it's a box. A sealed bronze box encrusted with tiny barnacles shaped like olive leaves. You touch it, and the barnacles pop off like breadcrumbs from a fresh loaf. Inside, a scroll. The parchment is somehow dry. You unfurl it, hands shaking. There's a single phrase written in charcoal script, bold and sharp. You are not the man you believe yourself to be. Naturally, your first thought is that someone's playing a prank. A very elaborate, possibly mythological prank. But the scroll smells like something ancient, like rain on marble. Like the breath of something that remembers fire before it knew light. You fold the scroll and tuck it inside your tunic. But it pulses against your chest like a second heartbeat. That night, there's a feast. The island gathers to celebrate the end of the fishing season. Tables groan under grilled octopus, olives, honey cakes. You try to enjoy it. There's music, dancing, the usual drunken philosopher yelling about taxes. But your thoughts keep drifting to that scroll, to the whispers in the waves, to that net that keeps pulling up impossible things. Then he arrives. No. One saw him enter, but there he is, sitting at the edge of the celebration. A tall figure in a dark cloak, face hidden under a hood. No plate, no drink, just watching. You try to ignore him. You fail. Eventually, he stands, walks straight to you. No one else seems to notice. He doesn't speak, just presses something into your hand. Small, obsidian charm in the shape of an owl. Then he vanishes. You blink. Look around. Nothing. No footprints in the sand. No breeze to explain his cloak fluttering. Just the charm, now warm, almost burning in your palm. You show it to your mother the next morning. She goes pale, drops a whole jar of goat cheese, and mumbles something about not yet. You press her, not yet what? She deflects with bread and silence. You take the charm to the village elder, a woman known for having an opinion on everything from whether to whether olives are fruit or vegetables. She squints at it, then promptly sprinkles salt around herself and says, "Get that away from me, demigod." You're like, wait, what now? She refuses to say more, but something about the way she calls you demigod hits different. It's not an insult, it's not a guess. It's like she's labeling a jar she's known was mislabeled your whole life. Later, you sit on the shore again. The waves don't whisper this time. They chant your name, over and over, in a language older than the stars, but still unmistakably yours. Historians often reference the mythic tension point, a term used to describe the moment when mortal heroes first sense their divine heritage. Most accounts say it begins subtly. Unusual strength, strange dreams, gods showing up uninvited to dinner. In your case, it's scrolls, shadows, and beachside owls. And then there's the prophecy. You unroll the scroll again that night, hoping it's changed. Maybe it'll now say, "Just kidding, you're totally human. Go back to fishing." Instead, there's a second line, one that wasn't there before. A crown made of snakes awaits your answer. You reread it 5 times, hoping it'll start making sense. Instead, you just get a headache and the distinct sense that snakes should not be associated with headwear. You tuck it away. You're still not sure what to believe, but the wind is shifting. And deep in your bones, you feel it. Something's coming. Maybe it's truth. Maybe it's madness. Either way, it's not human. The day after the festival, Siriphos feels heavier, like the sky dropped a few inches lower overnight. You walk through the village streets with the kind of suspicion usually reserved for discovering. A neighbor owns 10 cats and a basement forge. Everyone's acting normal, too normal, which, of course, is the least normal thing of all. You try to go about your day fixing nets, patching the boat, pretending the owl-shaped charm in your pocket isn't vibrating like it's receiving a call from Mount Olympus. You're not even sure how to answer a divine voicemail, as twilight spills over the sea like wine from a tipped amphora. The island begins its nightly ritual: food, fire, and far too much storytelling. You wander toward the gathering out of habit, drawn by the scent of roasted figs and the sweet smoke of burning laurel. But tonight, there's a newcomer. He's back. The hooded man from the feast, sitting at the edge again. This time with a cup of wine he doesn't drink. Still silent. Still watching. Now you can't pretend to ignore him. You walk toward him, trying not to feel like you're in a dream that might bite. Before you can speak, he holds out a small viola translucent container filled with shimmering liquid that pulses like liquid lightning. He doesn't speak. He just nods toward it. Then, in a voice so quiet it's nearly wind, truth burns, but it leaves no ash. Then he vanishes again. You mutter something about great, another cryptic lunatic, and pocket the vial, because apparently that's just your life now. Back at home, Dano sees it. She doesn't even speak. Just closes her eyes like she's lost a game she knew was rigged. Perseus, she says, there's something I have to tell you. You sit, not because you want to, but because your knees decide for you. She tells you about your birth, about how, long ago, a golden rain poured into her prison tower, how no man could have entered. How she'd raised you alone because she feared what? It meant to be the child of a god. You blink. Rain? She nods. Not weather. A presence. A force. Zeus. You try not to choke on your own breath. You're saying Zeus? Yes, she says. You are his son. You laugh once sharp, skeptical, almost angry. And you didn't think to mention this sooner? I was trying to protect you. You storm outside, the ocean wind biting your skin like truth itself. Somewhere behind you, she whispers, I'm sorry. Historians still argue over the Tower of Dano. Some say it was built of bronze, others of obsidian. Some claim she was imprisoned to protect her, others to punish her. What no one doubts is that Zeus found a way in. He always did. You sit at the edge of a cliff, legs dangling, the vial of liquid lightning glowing in your hand. You uncork it. The smell is sharp, like a storm trapped in a bottle. You hesitate, then drink. It's not pain exactly, more like your body turning inside out for a heartbeat, then realigning with the stars. You see visions, mountains that breathe, eagles with fire in their eyes, a woman with snakes for hair screaming. But not out of rage, out of grief. You fall backward, gasping. When you wake, it's night, and the stars above you. They've changed again. Now they form a shape you somehow know is yours. The next day, you try to act normal. Again, it goes about as well as you'd expect. You walk past the baker. She bows slightly. Bows. The blacksmith offers you a free dagger. The town's drunk. Tells you your aura is glowing like a philosophical torch. You're no longer just Perseus. People can feel it, and then, just when you think things might settle into a new weird, the goats start screaming. You run to the olive grove, where a small crowd is gathered. They part as you approach, and you see the grove's stone statue. Old dedication to Athena has cracked open. From the fissure spills golden light. You step forward. The statue moves. Not much. Just enough to blink. Just enough to speak. It says your name. It says, Son of Thunder. The veil lifts. You walk toward your storm. And then it goes still, crumbling into olive-scented dust. You stand there, hands trembling, heart pounding, and finally say what everyone's thinking. Okay, this is getting weird. Asterisk, asterisk, the cracked statue of Athena sits in ruins. Its message, still ringing in your ears long after the crowd has dispersed. No one questions you. No one speaks to you. They just glance your way and murmur with the kind of reverence usually reserved for temple priests or people who return library scrolls early. You head home, feet dragging, mind spinning. When you open the door, Dano is waiting, hands folded, lips pressed into a thin line. It's too full of storms for a woman who once taught you how to braid fishing lines. She doesn't waste time. I wanted you to grow up without fear. She says, I thought the gods might forget you. They have. A lot going on. You give a snort, like fathering half the peninsula. She winces. Fair. She pours wine. The good kind. The kind she saves for news that stings. Then she tells you about the day you were born. The sky had turned gold, not yellow gold. Every surface shimmered. The midwives wept. Not because they were scared, but because they knew a god had passed through the mortal veil. Your first cry echoed like a bell in a storm. And then, she says, the birds stopped singing for 3 days. Okay, so that's not standard baby behavior. Dano shows you a box she's kept hidden under the hearth, a small chest wrapped in olive cloth. Inside, a lock of hair that glows faintly in the dark, a coin etched with a lightning bolt, and a scrap of parchment bearing your name next to a single glyph, the thunder sigil of Zeus. You were never just mine, she says quietly, but I tried to raise you like you were. You don't know what to say, so you say nothing. That night, you dream of a mountain so tall it cuts through the moon. Lightning dances at its peak, and below it sits a throne made of storms. On it, a shadow. He doesn't speak, but you feel his gaze. Heavy, proud, dangerous. You wake with a start. Outside, the waves hiss against the rocks like they're sharing. Gossip. You walk to the olive grove again. The statue's ruins are still there, but something's changed. Carved into the stone now is a single word in ancient Greek. Return, return where? You've never left, except hadn't there been that one time, years ago, when you wandered too far chasing a turtle and found yourself at the edge of the island, where the trees grow twisted and the ground buzzes like it remembers something. You go there now. The grove grows denser, the path overgrown. But your feet know the way, instinct more than memory. You push past a curtain of ivy, and there it is, a glade untouched by time. At its center, a stone altar ringed with laurel. You step into the clearing, and the wind dies. Everything goes still. Then, the altar glows. From it rises a thin line of smoke, no fire, just mist. In the mist, faces. One you recognize, your own, but older, wiser, or maybe ... more divine. Then a voice, female, strong, with the rhythm of temple bells. You are of two worlds, Perseus, but you must choose which one to claim. And just like that, the mist vanishes. You sit at the altar, dazed. Then notice a symbol etched in the stone, a circle with wings. Hermes, the messenger. You head back home with your mind doing backflips and your heart doing something that could be classified as interpretive dance. Historians still debate whether Hermes ever took a personal interest in heroes. Some argue he merely delivered divine instructions. Others suggest he sometimes adopted mortals with potential and meddled more than was appropriate. Either way, when Hermes leaves a calling card, it's usually the prelude to chaos. That night, Dano doesn't ask where you've been. She just hands you a satchel and says, if you're going to leave, you'll need this. You blink. Leave. She sighs. You think a god's child can stay hidden forever? She's right, of course. The gods don't really do subtle. You can't be the son of Zeus and expect to live a quiet life gutting sardines. You lie, awake, staring at the ceiling. The stars shift again. A new constellation you don't recognize. It pulses once, then goes still. You whisper to yourself, "What am I?" The wind outside answers, "You are becoming." The next morning, your sandals are barely dry before you're hiking into the olive grove again. Satchel on your back, questions banging around in your skull like angry bees. You don't tell anyone you're leaving. It's not your neighbors, not your friends, not even the fishmonger who once promised to name a squid after you. You just go. You're not sure what you're looking for, but your feet seem to know. They carry you beyond the usual paths, past the old goat trail, past the fig trees that somehow always produce one fruit too many. The air gets thick. Not hot, just ... heavy, like you've walked into a memory that doesn't belong to you. And then you see them. Footprints, they don't look recent, but they haven't faded either. Impossibly clear, like they were burned into the dirt rather. Then pressed by weight, you kneel. They're human mostly, but too wide, too deep. Whatever made them was stronger than anything that should exist on this island. So of course, you follow them. The trail winds through twisted olive trees, whose trunks spiral like marble columns. You swear one of them sighs as you pass. Another seems to shiver. You start to wonder if the trees know you, or worse, if they're watching. The footprints lead to a glen you don't remember ever seeing. At the center is a shallow pool, fed by a trickle of water that gleams silver in the sun. Around the pool are stones etched with symbols that shimmer faintly when you look directly at them, then vanish when you glance away. You touch one, it hums. The air thickens again, and then the voices begin. Soft, layered, echoing in a language. Your bones remember, even if your mind doesn't. You don't understand the words, but you understand the intent. You are marked. You stagger back, breath caught somewhere between your lungs and the sky. You sit by the pool, heart hammering, and stare into the water. At first, it shows your reflection. Then it DOESN single quotes. Instead, you see a boy, maybe 10 years old, climbing a fig tree. Then that same boy, a little older, dragging a net through the surf. Then older again, standing over your mother while she sleeps. A knife in your hand only. You're not holding the knife. Someone else is. Someone you don't remember being. And then the image flickers. Now you're standing in a massive hall, with marble floors and thunder in the walls. Voice calls your name, your true name. The one you don't know yet. You gasp. The pool goes still. This is not just a glen. It's a threshold. A place where the boundary between mortal and divine has been scraped thin. You remember something the oracle once said, something half buried beneath her garlic-scented warnings and manic laughter. When the trees begin to listen, the sky will open and the boy will become the blade. That line makes no sense. Yet somehow you feel it threading itself through your ribs, anchoring itself inside your chest. You follow the path deeper. Eventually, the footprints vanish, but you keep walking. You crest a hill, and there it is, something you've never seen before, a circle of standing stones, smooth and ancient, arranged in a spiral that leads inward like a funnel. In the center, a pedestal. On it, a single olive branch dipped in gold. As you approach, the ground thrums beneath your feet. You reach for the branch, and everything stops. Time doesn't freeze, it waits. You sense that if you take this branch, you're accepting something. Not a weapon, a signal, to gods, to fate. To yourself, you take it. The wind roars. The sky, which had been a gentle shade of afternoon blue, now splits down the center with a single crack of lightning clouds, just raw electricity from nothing. The olive trees bow as if in recognition. And you feel something wake up in your blood. Historians often note the symbolic importance of the olive branch in Greek mythology, just as a sign of peace, but as a mark of divine favor, especially among those with blood tied to Olympus. Some believed that when the branch turned to gold, the gods themselves were watching. And oh, they're watching now as you descend the hill. Olive branch in hand, something shifts inside you. Not just clarity, but purpose. You may not understand everything yet. But you're no longer asking if you're different, you're asking why. And more importantly, what now? Asterisk, asterisk, the dreams return that night, thick and vivid, like honey poured over your mind. You're walking through a field of feathers white gold, ash gray all falling slowly from a sky that's neither day nor night. In the distance, thunder rumbles softly like a beast snoring. You move toward it. Then comes the rain. Not water gold. Actual droplets of molten gold floating down with weightless grace, burning nothing but lighting up everything they touch. You stretch out your hand. A drop lands in your palm and sinks into your skin like a seed. When you wake, your arm is glowing. Only for a second. Then it fades, leaving behind a faint imprint of a symbol, a spiral. The same pattern from the pool. The same etched design in the standing stones. The same one you've started doodling on driftwood without realizing it. Your head is full of questions and your heart is racing like you've swallowed the wings of Hermes. There's only one thing to do. Go back to the oracle. You know, the one who smells like garlic and occasionally hisses at pigeons. Her hut isn't hard to find. It's the only place on the island that looks like it was built by a very confused thunderstorm with a strong sense of feng shui. She opens the door before you knock. I told you not to come back until the stars realigned. She grumbles. They did, you say? And also they moved. She pauses. Oh, well, that changes things. She invites you in. The hut smells like thyme, smoke, and a hint of something unidentifiable that makes your left eye twitch. She waves her hands over a basin of water, muttering in a mix of ancient Greek and something that sounds like bad singing. The water swirls. Then clears. In it, you see yourself, but different, standing on a stone cliff. A sword in one hand, wings. On your sandals, you're not just a boy, you're a symbol. A weapon, a story. You're Perseus, she mutters, but not the one they wrote about. Not yet. She leans closer. They wrote myths after the fact. But you're living it now. Then she says something that freezes your breath. You dream of the rain, don't you? You nod, slowly. She sits back, nodding to herself. Golden rain. Zeus's favorite disguise when subtlety fails. Which is always, if you want to ask what. It means she beats you to it. It means you're his. Not just in blood, but in design. The gods don't do accidents. You sit in stunned silence. She pours you something that might be tea or might be regret in a cup. You sip it anyway. Then she tells you about the others. There were more like you, she says. Children of the gods scattered across the world like sparks. Some vanished, some rose, some went mad. You. She taps your forehead. You're still choosing. You leave her hut feeling like you've just read the footnotes to your own existence. The sky is darker than it should be. A storm is building out over the sea, but the wind is blowing inward, like it's being pulled toward you. You walk to the cliffs. Sit with your legs over the edge, the olive branch across your lap. The spiral on your arm hums faintly, pulsing with your heartbeat. You wonder if you're not fully human. Then what are you exactly? Half god? Demigod? Demi-problem? Historians still argue over the nature of demigods. Some call them bridges between worlds. Others say they're divine insurance policies' backup plans when gods get bored or lazy. But a few fringe scholars believe they're tests, flesh and blood questions thrown into the world, waiting to become answers. You sit there a long time, watching the storm. And then lightning splits the sky. No thunder, just a flash. And in that flash, you see her. A woman, tall, with snakes instead of hair. Eyes filled with sadness, not rage. Not malice, grief. She vanishes as quickly as she appeared, but it's burned into your mind now. A face you've never met, but somehow remember. A name rises in your thoughts, Medusa. You whisper it, and the wind recoils like it heard a secret that wasn't meant for mortal air. This story, it seems, has just begun its descent into legend. You don't go home that night. Instead, you find yourself drawn back to the temple, the old one, mostly abandoned, where vines have claimed the columns and the roof creaks when the wind has opinions. It was once dedicated to Athena, though the goddess hasn't sent mail here in generations. Inside, the moonlight pours through a collapsed portion of the ceiling, illuminating the central statue. It's still impressive, even worn with time. Athena in full armor, spear raised, shield at her side, owl perched on her shoulder. But tonight, something's different. You swear the owl's eyes glow. You step closer, heart pattering like a goat on marble. The statue's surface, once weathered stone, looks softer, like marble that's dreaming of flesh. And just as you're about to whisper something dumb like hello, the owl blinks. You stagger backward, but it's too late. The temple is waking up. The air thickens, the columns straighten slightly. A faint hum pulses from the statues. Besa, then Athena's voice, not the booming, thunderous kind you'd expect from an Olympian, but sharp, clear, and slightly annoyed. You took long enough. You freeze. The statue doesn't move again, but the voice continues. You've been touched by Olympus. The storm knows your name. The shadows smell your fear. Cool, you mutter, because sarcasm is your default panic language. Then the voice drops, almost tender. You are the son of Zeus, and that means enemies you haven't even dreamed of are already watching. You ask what you're supposed to do. The statue hums again. Then the owl moves, just its head, turning to look at the wall to your left. You follow its gaze. There's a recess there, one you've never noticed before. Inside it, a mirror tarnished round, framed in bronze, shaped like feathers. You reach out. Your hand trembles as you touch the glass. The mirror doesn't reflect you. It reflects ... possibilities. Versions of yourself in different battles. One holding a sword dripping with starlight. Another flying through clouds on the back of a winged horse. And another eyes glowing gold. A crown of serpents circling your head like a halo. You pull your hand back like it burned you. Which it kind of did. Athena's voice returns. You will soon face a creature twisted by sorrow. Her name is Medusa. You've seen her face already. You nod, slowly. In the lightning, she wasn't always a monster, Athena says. That's the first thing they forget. Historians have argued for centuries about Medusa's origin. Some say she was a priestess of Athena, cursed for a betrayal not her own. Others believe she was born a Gorgon, destined for isolation. And still others insist the gods created her as punishment for something no mortal could ever understand. What's certain is this: nobody leaves an encounter with Medusa unchanged, not even Perseus. You ask, why me? Athena's reply is immediate. Because you are both weapon and witness, and you haven't yet decided which you'll become. As the voice fades, the owl gives one last blink, then returns to stone. The mirror dims. The temple grows quiet. You leave just before dawn, stepping out into a world that feels less like your own by the hour. The path home is foggy. You stumble through olive trees that seem to whisper old names until you reach the beach again. And there at the edge of the sea, someone waits. It's the cloaked figure. Again, you're not even surprised at this point. Just vaguely tired. This time, he speaks first. His voice is crisp, amused. So, you've seen the mirror. You nod. He nods back. Good. Then we can begin. He reaches into his cloak and pulls out something small, a silver ring, etched with that same spiral pattern. He tosses it to you. Fits your finger like it was forged for it, which, let's face it, it probably was. Consider this a key, he says, to the parts of yourself still locked. You're about to ask a dozen questions when he's gone. Again, like fog when the sun shows up to ruin the mystery, you sit on the sand, staring at the ring. And for a flicker of a moment, you hear another voice, not Athena, not the cloaked. Man, your father, a whisper like a breeze through lightning. My son, ... Then silence. You don't know where you're going next. But you know this, the mirror showed you 3 versions of yourself, and you're determined to become something they didn't see. Asterisk, asterisk, the next day begins with thunder and no clouds. Which is just unfair. You're wading knee-deep in the surf ring. On your finger, replaying Athena's words in your mind like a scratched lyre string. You are both weapon and witness. Not exactly the kind of thing you want to hear before breakfast. Then it happens. A crack in the sky, loud enough to make your bones jitter. You look up, nothing, just blue. Not a cloud, not a bird. Not even one of those judgmental seagulls. And yet, the sound came from somewhere above you. Then the light hits. It's not lightning. It's a thin beam, like a celestial spotlight, beaming straight down onto the water. The sea bubbles hisses, then splits apart like it's being told a divine secret. You step back. From the gap rises a figure, not a god, not a monster, something in between. It's a woman tall, hair like wind-blown silver, wrapped in a robe of moving stars. Her eyes are clouded white, like she sees too much to focus on any one thing. She floats above the waves, toes never touching water. You are late, she says flatly. I didn't get an invitation, you say, because sarcasm is easier than panic. She steps onto the sand as if it's just a suggestion beneath her. You've been activated, like a trap, a storm, she replies. Once it begins, it doesn't ask permission to arrive. She gestures to the sea. The water closes behind her with a sound like a sigh. You finally gather enough nerve to ask her name. Neem, she says. One of the original muses. Memory? Of course. Because your life wasn't confusing enough. Now memory is personified and irritated at your schedule. She walks with you along the beach, feet never quite touching the earth. As you walk, fragments of thought fill your head, half-formed images. Snippets of conversations you've never had. Places you've never seen, but feel like you once belonged to. You carry echoes, Neem says. The remnants of blood, not wholly mortal. You ask what that even means. It means your father left more than lightning in your veins. He left doors. Some open outward, some, she looks at you meaningfully, open inward. She stops at a tide pool and gestures for you to look. Inside, instead of water, you see sky, clouds, mountains, a fortress floating above the clouds Olympos. No doubt. Then you see a version of yourself on its stepshoulder, clad in bronze armor with wings on your heels and fire in your hands. You blink and it's gone. Neem sighs. Visions come easier now, don't they? You nod slowly. That's because the sky remembers you. She says historians have always questioned the origin of divine memory. Was it stored in sacred temples, in oracles, in song? But a few eccentric scholars usually dismissed at symposiums. For drinking too much wine believed memory had a will of its own, that it could appear embodied to those standing at the crossroads of fate. Looks like they were right. Before you can ask more, Neem hands you a scroll sealed with golden wax in the shape of a thunderbolt. What is it? An assignment? She says. You stare. You're giving me homework. She shrugs. Olympus loves bureaucracy. You break the seal. Inside, a map. Not of the world, but of your journey. A sequence of symbols, Maril May, Gorgon, wings ranged in a spiral leading to a mountain encircled by stars. At the center, a name. You haven't seen before, but somehow recognize Chasm of Kronos. You whisper it aloud. The wind howls in response. MNE fades from view like mist on a sunlit stone. Your timeline bends, her voice echoes. Walk carefully, Perseus. You're left alone, scroll in hand, a muse's warning rattling your ribcage. You head home. The sky is still cloudless. Still charged, your mother meets you at the door. She doesn't speak. She just places something in your hands, a small dagger. Wrapped in crimson cloth, it belonged to your grandfather, she says, before he became a star. You unwrap it. It's old, heavy, humming with something far older than steel. You feel it settle in your palm like it's found its way home. That night, as you sleep, the sky cracks again, and this time, you feel the fracture in your bones. The world is no longer what it was, and neither are you. You wake before dawn, heart thudding, fingers curled tightly around the dagger. It shouldn't hum. Metal isn't supposed to vibrate with purpose, but this one does, like it remembers stories you haven't lived yet. The scroll from Neem sits. Beside you, the map marked with your next destination, the Oracle. Not the island one, the mainland Oracle, the famous one. The one that smells like destiny and probably hasn't seen a broom in a century. So, you pack light. The dagger, the owl charm, the scroll, the weird ring that whispers sometimes you're still ignoring that part. And a loaf of bread that's already regretting its future. Before you leave, Dano hugs you tight. She doesn't cry. She never cries. But she does slip something into your satchel, a small pendant shaped like a sun. For protection, she says, and warmth if the gods forget you. Charming. You take a small boat across to the mainland. The trip is uneventful, except for one mildly demonic-looking dolphin that follows you halfway. Probably symbolic. Definitely unsettling. The road to the Oracle's cave is steep and winding, carved through cliffs that whisper when the wind passes through them. Not words, just tones, like someone humming ancient lullabies into stone. By midday, you arrive. The cave entrance is draped in vines and smells like thyme, clay, and an alarming amount of garlic. No door, no guards. Just fate and very questionable landscaping choices. Inside, it's dark. The kind of dark that leans. You step forward and torches light themselves. Nice touch. The cave slopes downward, spiraling into a chamber filled with smoke, herbs, and the sound of someone aggressively crushing olives. That's when you meet her, the Oracle. She's hunched, wrapped in layers of wool and bronze jewelry. Her eyes are clouded with age or magic ore. By Thayan, she's wearing no shoes, but her toenails. Painted gold, because why not? She looks up, as if she's been expecting you for years. Which, in Oracle time, she probably has. Perseus, she says, took you long enough. You sit. Because that's what people do when the future's about to speak. She reaches into a bowl of strange seeds and flings a handful into the air. They hang there, suspended, shimmering with inner fire. Child of thunder, child of rain. Your blood speaks louder than your breath, she chants. She throws a pinch of ash into a flame. It flares blue. The girl with snakes will not wait long. Her sorrow is blooming. You ask if she means Medusa. She ignores the question, or maybe answers it sideways. She was not born with venom. She was given it. You blink. So ... She was cursed. The Oracle nods, slowly, by fear, by betrayal, and by gods who do not clean up after their emotions. That tracks. You ask what you're supposed to do. She smiles, revealing more teeth than expected. Survive? Thanks. That's helpful. Then she gestures for you to come closer. You lean in. She touches your forehead with one finger, and suddenly, your mind is elsewhere. You're standing in a field of broken statues. All of them look terrified. All are mid-scream, and in the center is a woman kneeling, hair twisting like slow smoke. Eyes shut tight. Please, she whispers in the vision. I didn't ask for this. Then the vision cracks. You're back in the cave, sweating. Breath sharp. The oracle wipes her hands with a cloth that might once have been a god's toga. You've seen her now. She says, the monster and the truth. You're silent. She hands you a vial, small, filled with dark oil that gleams purple in the firelight. For your journey, she says. It repels illusions, but it won't protect you from truth. You pocket it. Truth is starting to feel more dangerous than monsters. As you stand to leave, she adds one last thing. When the blade meets the mirror, remember, not all reflections tell the same story twice. Outside, the wind has changed direction. Historians have long obsessed over Greek oracles, how much they knew, whether they manipulated fate or merely read it. Some believed they were extensions of divine consciousness. Others thought they were just very persuasive performance artists. But one thing is clear, the oracle always sees. You walk away from the cave with her words. Echoing in your mind, she didn't tell you how to win. She told you how not to lose. And that, as you descend from the oracle's cave, some things are too heavy for conversation, even the imaginary kind you've been having with yourself lately. The vision of Medusa kneeling among the statues clings to your thoughts like seaweed to a ship hull. You saw her pain, her humanity. And now, your mission feels less like a hero's quest and more like walking into someone else's tragedy. The road back is quiet, save for the occasional hawk shriek and the crunch of olive branches underfoot. You've started to notice patterned steeny spirals in the bark of trees, in the cracks of stones, even in the flight paths of birds overhead. They all lead in the same direction, inward. Back at the coast, your boat is waiting. You step in, scroll. In hand, pendant against your chest, and eyes on the horizon. You don't go straight back to Seriphos. You drift first. You let the boat carry you past the cliffs, toward the less inhabited side of the island, where the rocks are sharp and even. The goats won't graze. It's the kind of place people avoid, usually with a muttered bad air or too many bones. Which is a shame, because the view is fantastic. You drop anchor near a cove only accessible during low tide, and row in. The cave that greets you is a gaping black mouth with seafoam teeth. You feel drawn to it. Inside, the temperature drops. You light a small torch and make your way through. The walls are covered in carvings, old ones. Some are just scratches. Others are full reliefs showing scenes you only partially understand. A boy made of gold, a woman giving birth to stars, a snake coiled around the sun, and then you find it. A mural of you. Or someone who looks very, very much like you, holding a blade, holding a head. Wings on your feet, an expression caught between triumph and heartbreak. So, no pressure. Back at home, Dano is waiting. She doesn't ask where you've been, just studies your face like she's trying to measure how close you are to vanishing entirely. Finally, she speaks. There's something I've never told you. Of course there is. She pulls out an old cloth bundle and unwraps it slowly. Inside is a necklace, simple bronze with a small coin pendant. On it, a lightning bolt crossed by an olive branch. It was left beside you when you were born, she says. I thought maybe it was just a token. But after what you told me about the oracle, you take it. The coin is warm, no pulsing. You slip it around your neck. Your dreams that night are tangled. You're standing at the edge of a battlefield. On one side, gods. On the other, mortals. In the center, you. Alone, a choice in each hand, a blade and a mirror, both crackling with power. Neither feeling quite right. You wake up before you make a decision. You don't tell your mother about the dream. You don't need to. She sees it in your eyes. That morning, as the tide recedes, something glints in the wet sand. You dig it up. A bronze disc, similar to the coin on your necklace, but heavier. Inscribed with a single word in archaic script, Aletheia. Truth. You stare at it, unsure whether the gods are guiding you or just really into symbolism. Historians often point out how obsessed Greek culture was with truth, not just in the not lying sense, but in the philosophical sense of what is real. The word aletheia was central to this, meaning unconcealedness. It wasn't just about revealing facts, it was about stripping illusion, peeling away the world until only what must be remained. Seems appropriate. You hold the disc up to your necklace, and for a moment they resonate a tone like a temple bell, long and clear. Then silence. You know now that your path leads forward. Not just toward Medusa, but toward whatever the gods want from you, or of you, or through you. The sky that night is unnaturally still. You sit at the edge of the sea, watching stars blink in patterns you don't yet understand. And just before sleep takes you, the wind whispers, "Truth has teeth. Feed it carefully." The morning sun rises like it's auditioning for the role of ominous light source, casting long golden shadows across the beach. You stand at the edge of the water, necklace warm against your chest, the bronze disc of Aletheia, heavy in your hand. You don't fully understand its purpose yet, but it hums when you think too hard, which is either helpful or terrifying. You consult the scroll again. The next symbol glows faintly, now a mountain encircled by a strange sigil. Beneath, it barely visible, the words "island" that repelled time. You frown. There's only one place that might mean. The Isle of Kinoros, not known for its hospitality. Sailors whisper that time flows differently there, that seasons pass in days, or days stretch like decades. People who go in rarely come back the same age or the same person. Some return as children, others as whispers. Or so the stories go. Naturally, you decide to go there. Because logic and destiny are long-divorced partners in your life now, the journey takes 2 days by boat. You use the time to sharpen the dagger, recite names of Olympian gods for safety, or to impress someone, unclear, and try not to listen. When the wind starts saying your name backwards, on the second night, the sea fog thickens. Then parts suddenly to reveal Kinaros, a lonely spire of rock jutting from the sea like a giant's broken tooth. No trees, no buildings. Just craggy stone and a sliver of beach barely wide enough to land on. You step ashore and immediately feel it. WRONGNESS. The air is too still, like the world hit pause. You take a step forward and hear your own footsteps echo before you take them. Yeah, that's not normal. You climb up the rocky incline, each movement followed by a delayed sense of déjà vu. At the summit, you find it, a ring of black stones, perfectly smooth, each one humming like it swallowed time and didn't chew first. In the center stands a monolith ancient, cracked, etched with the same spiral that haunts your dreams. You touch it. Instantly, you're somewhere else, not physically, just mentally. You're standing in a house you don't recognize, but somehow know. A hearth burns in the corner. There's laughter, your voice, but not your age. You're a child again. You run, barefoot, across the floor to a woman who smiles and kneels. Not Dano, someone else. Then the room flickers. You're older now. A teenager, standing at the beach, shouting at the sky. The wind whips your hair. You're yelling for your father, even though you don't believe he's listening. Then flicker, you're older still. A warrior cloaked in bronze and blood, standing. Before a throne of clouds, someone sits on it. You try to speak, but no words come. Just lightning dot, and then the voice. Time remembers you. Even when you don't remember time, you blink. You're back on Kenoros, the monolith still under your palm. You step back, shaken. This island didn't repel time. It gathered it, condensed it, showed you fragments of yourself you weren't ready for. Pieces of your story that haven't happened or already did. You sit on the edge of the summit, catching your breath. Below, the waves hit the rocks in reverse. You blink. Now, forward again. Okay, enough of that. You take out the bronze disc. It pulses once, then releases a soft tone. A warmth spreads from it, clearing your head. Truth cuts illusion, even time's illusion. You carve a symbol into the stone with a dagger your own mark. A blend of lightning and spiral. A claim. A memory dot, then you descend by the time you reach your boat. The island behind you looks ... different. Smaller, older, or maybe you've just grown. Historians rarely agree on Kenoros. Some deny its existence entirely. Others claim it was a remnant of Titan power, one of the last places where Cronus' grip lingered, bending reality like papyrus in steam. But all legends agree, no one leaves unchanged. As you sail back toward Sirphos, your thoughts spiral. The vision of that throne, the sound of your own laughter in a home you don't remember. The name of the woman with the snakes, Medusa. You realize something? You're not just walking toward her, you're walking toward yourself. Asterisk, asterisk. You return to Sirphos just after nightfall, and the island greets you like a stranger. The air feels heavier. The stars above shimmer just a shade off, like they've been nudged from their usual positions. Threaded across the sky by an invisible hand with questionable cartographic skills. Even the sea has a different rhythm now, slapping the shore. In uneven, offbeat pulses. You step off the boat and realize something else has changed. You've been gone for 3 days, but here on Sirphos, it's only one has passed. So, yeah, time-bending island. Confirmed, you walk home quietly, unsure of what to expect, unsure of who you even are anymore. Your mother sees you before you reach the threshold. She doesn't ask what happened. She just looks at your face, nods once, and says, "You saw it, didn't you?" You nod back. "I saw. Too much." That night, sleep doesn't come easy. Every time you close your eyes, you feel the island again, the tug of time, the dissonance in your own memory. You wonder which version of you is the real one, the boy, the warrior, the wanderer. The answer, of course, is all of them. But that doesn't make it easier to wear all those masks at once at dawn. The messenger arrives, not human. It appears at the edge of the beach's shimmer of light in humanoid form, shifting like sunlight. On water, you approach carefully, hand on the dagger. The figure doesn't speak. It just holds out a small scroll sealed in red wax. You take it. Blink. The figure is gone. Okay. Subtle. You break the seal. Inside, just 4 words. Find the ones who remember. Well, that's nice and vague. You consult Neem's map. The next sigil glows, a pair of crossed spears beneath a crescent moon. Beneath it, a single word. Talisa, place you've only heard in sailor myths. It's not on most maps. It's said to exist only in twilight, neither day nor night, neither land nor sea, and in between. But someone once told you about it. You make your way to the harbor. It's the one person who might help you find it. DOK, less fisherman, drinker, and occasional supplier of sea cucumbers so aggressive they've been banned from several markets. He squints at your request like you've just asked for directions to Atlantis Telesa. He snorts. That's a bedtime tale. an in-between world, shifting shores. People who remember things they never lived. You don't go find it. You get invited. You show him the scroll. His face changes. Right then, he mutters. You've been invited. He agrees to take you. Doesn't charge a coin. Doesn't even ask why. He just packs dried meat, extra rope, and a look of profound regret. The journey takes hours. The sea gets strange the closer you get. The waves start to move slower. Birds stop flying overhead. The sun hangs in place. Diocles ties a blindfold around his eyes and mutters prayers you don't recognize. Eventually, the mist clears, and there it is, Teles, an island made of twilight trees. Lit from within by blue fireflies, water that glows faintly purple, ruins half swallowed by ivy and shadow. You step ashore, and it feels like the world holds its breath. No one greets you, but you're not alone. The forest pulses with energy. You walk forward. The trees part. And there, beneath a dome of hanging vines, you find them. 3 figures, seated. In a circle, faces hidden beneath bronze masks. Each holds an object, a scroll, a lyre, a shield. You approach slowly. One of them speaks. You've touched the thread of time. Another chimes in. You carry the weight of gods. The third. Are you ready to remember more than your own story? You kneel, because somehow that feels right. The one with the scroll places it in front of you. It opens itself. Inside are names, not yours, but familiar. You begin to read. And with every name, memories flicker. People you've met, people you haven't, but who are woven into your fate. Heroes, monsters, saints, sinners. Some who will help you. Some you'll have to stop. Then the lyre begins to play. It's not a melody you recognize, but your heart aches as if it's heard it before. It draws out memories not of events, but of feelings: grief, longing, joy, fear. A map of emotions, layered across your bones, and then the shield bearer speaks again. You must train now, not your body. She leans closer. Her voice is a whisper. Your memory. That night, the training begins. They do not teach you to fight. They teach you to recall. To remember things that haven't happened yet. To distinguish between memory and prophecy. To find the moment where choice splits from fate. Historians never found Telesa. Some think it was a metaphor. Others believe it was a testing ground for minds chosen by the gods. But those who passed through it were always changed. You fall asleep beneath glowing leaves, the weight of your name heavier than ever, and in your dreams, Medusa is waiting. Not to kill you, to ask you something. You wake beneath the trees of Telesa with the taste of starlight in your mouth and the sound of that lyre echoing in your bones. The 3 masked figures are gone. In their place stands something new. A bundle at your feet, wrapped in shimmering cloth that shifts color like oil on water. Inside you find sandals, not ordinary ones. Unless your idea of casual footwear includes feathers that twitch when you touch them, and soles etched with sigils that glow faintly in the dark. You know what these are? The legendary Teleria-winged sandals of Hermes himself. The original courier. Kicks. The mythic express. The shoes you didn't know you'd always wanted. You slip them on. They adjust to your feet instantly, molding like they were made for you. You stand, expecting to feel ... something. Instead, you levitate. Just a bit, an inch or 2 off the ground. Enough to make your stomach flip and your brain do that thing where it reminds you it never signed up for aerial activities. You walk, or rather, float. Every step sends you forward with a bounce that feels more dream than reality. The wind bends to you now. The world listens differently. You leave Telesa before the trees change their minds. Diocles isn't waiting. You knew he wouldn't be. No one returns from Talisa the same, and some don't return at all. But your boat is there. Untied, facing east, you sail. The wind catches your sail in a way it shouldn't, guiding you faster than seems possible. The world blurs slightly. Hours pass in minutes. You spot dolphins swimming beside you only. Now they shimmer faintly, like they belong to some older version of the ocean. By sunset, you arrive on the coast of an island you don't recognize. It isn't on any map, but the moment you step ashore, you feel it. This is where you are meant to go next. The cliffs rise steeply, worn by wind and time, but your sandals carry you upward with ease. The path twists between thickets of cypress and strange white flowers that bloom only under moonlight. At the summit, you find a shrine, not grand, not ornate, just a simple stone platform upon which rests a single feather silver. Long and humming with contained energy, you reach out. The feather leaps into your hand, and then Hermes arrives, not with trumpet blasts, not with clouds or thunder, just ... Suddenly, he's there, lean, grinning, sharp-eyed, dressed like a traveler who couldn't decide between a toga and a hoodie. Finally caught up with you, he says, casually flicking a fig from a tree you didn't notice. You blink. You're Hermes. He bows. With a flourish, god of travel, commerce, lies, thieves, and inconvenient truths. And currently, your personal life coach. You don't know what to say, so you don't. You just wait. He gestures to your sandals. Nice fit. You nod. Good, he says. Because you're going to need them. The road ahead doesn't stay on the ground. He steps onto the shrine and sits, legs crossed like a lounging philosopher. You've met the oracle, seen the timelines, remembered things no mortal should. So tell me, what do you think you're supposed to do now? You hesitate, face Medusa. He snorts. Ah, sure. That's one interpretation. You frown. That's what Athena said. Oh, Athena. He rolls his eyes with divine elegance. She sees things in marble and logic. Me? I see the cracks. He leans in. Medusa's not your enemy. Perseus, she's your mirror. What? You do to her, you do to yourself. You feel your stomach drop. He stands. There are 3 things you'll need before you find her. The sandals are one, and the others. You'll know, he says, or you won't. Either way, you'll get there. He tosses you a pouch. Inside are coins silver with your own face on them. Bribes, offerings, fair across, impossible. Rivers never leave home without them. He begins to vanish, literally fading out. Oh, he calls back, now half transparent. One last thing. You wait. He winks. Don't trust mirrors. Or goats. Then he's gone. You stand alone on the cliff, sandals fluttering faintly in the breeze, silver feather in hand. Bag of self-coins at your belt, and somewhere in the distance, like a memory not yet made, you hear the faint rattle of snakes. Medusa is calling asterisk, asterisk. You descend the cliff slowly, letting the talaria hover you downward like a leaf on a breeze. The silver feather flutters in your pouch with every step, occasionally letting off a faint chime like it's impatient to be used. Hermes' words echo in your mind. She's not your enemy. She's your mirror. You wish you'd asked more questions before he literally vanished into a metaphor. Back on the shore, you find a narrow path winding through scrub and stone. The scroll map pulses softly from inside your satchel, another sigil glowing to life. A curved fang surrounded by spirals. You don't need it spelled out, Medusa. You single quotes not ready. Not because of the hole she can turn you into a lawn ornament thing, though that's definitely a factor. You're not ready because you saw her in visions, in the pool, in the shattered fragments of your own story. And she wasn't just monstrous, she was mourning. You may camp beneath a canopy of trees, their leaves silvered under moonlight. The wind sings through the branches, soft and high like a flute playing from far away. You fall asleep with your hand wrapped around the dagger hilt. Not out of fear, but to feel something solid. In your dream, you see her again. She's standing, alone in a marble chamber, hands trembling, blood on her robes. Behind her, the statue of a god whose face has been chipped away. Her eyes meet yours, not glowing. It's not monstrous, just ... You wake with a start, at dawn. You eat the last of your bread and follow the maps pull through a jagged pass, into what locals once called the Hollow End, a place where the earth has split open in long, narrow gorges. The air is dry here, cracked. You pass cairns stacked by pilgrims long forgotten, offerings of olives, broken helmets, and tokens carved with serpents. And then you find it. Not a temple, not a lair. A voice that comes from within the stone. Soft, measured, feminine. It says your name, not as a threat, as a question. You step forward at the heart of the gorge. Carved into the mountain itself is a doorway framed in black marble. No doors, just shadow and a threshold. Symbols line the arch, moon phases, open eyes. Scales, you take a breath and step inside. The tunnel narrows, the air turning cold and thick. Your sandals hover just above the ground, avoiding loose stones and dead silence. The deeper you go, the more the walls begin to whisper, not in Greek, not in any language, but you understand them. Beauty is a weapon. Curses remember who cursed. Fear makes statues of us all. The chamber opens suddenly massive, circular, with a domed ceiling covered in constellations carved into obsidian. In the center stands a plinth. On it, a shield, round, bronze, polished like a mirror. Around it, coiled serpents carved into the floor, curved as if they were watching. You approach slowly. You know what this is? The mirror shield, a gift, but also a warning. You remember Athena's voice in your dreams. Never meet her gaze. You lift the shield. It's heavier than it looks, not just in weight. In consequence, as you hold it, the room shifts. You're back in the marble chamber from your dream. Medusa stands before you, weeping silently. You hold the shield. She sees her reflection in it. She flinches not from pain, but from recognition and for a heartbeat. You see her before the curse, a priestess, proud and kind, her hair long and dark, her eyes thoughtful. Then the vision breaks. You're back in the chamber, the shield still. In your hand, the shield is yours now, but so is the knowledge. This weapon is a choice, not an answer. Historians have always struggled with the story of Medusa. Was she punished or protected? Did Athena curse her or give her the only defense? She could. Some argue the shield was never meant for destruction, but reflection. That it was the gods' way of forcing heroes to confront what they feared most in themselves. You return to the gorge entrance under a pale sky. Shield slung over your back, heart hammering like you've stolen fire from a sleeping titan. You're not afraid of Medusa. You're afraid of what she recognizes in you. That night, you sleep under starlight, and in your dream, she speaks. Bring the mirror, not the blade. You rise before dawn, the shield cool against your back. The words from your dream still echoing inside your skull. Bring the mirror, not the blade. You roll that phrase around in your head like a stone in a sling. It's a warning, a request, maybe even a plea. The scroll map pulses again as a new path unfolds this time, a winding arc of starlight leading inland, away from the sea. You follow it with quiet determination, the winged sandals giving your elate, Myandals giving your steps a lift that feels equal parts magical and absurd. You're hovering over dew-covered grass like some mythic courier with emotional baggage. By midday, the terrain changes. Trees give way to dark stone, the soil turning ashen beneath your feet. You've entered a basin known in ancient songs as Selous Hollow, though most just call it the Whispering Ground. It's not a name born of metaphor. The land actually whispers. Wind curls through the ravines in soft syllables. Some in Greek, some older, some in your own voice. You pass a boulder and hear it mutter something about regret. Another hums a lullaby your mother never taught you, but you somehow know the words. You descend into the hollow with your shield held tight and your senses stretching out like antennae. That's when you hear it, a voice not whispering, not ghostly, but loud, clear, confused. Perseus, you spin. A figure approaches from the Mysiang, armored in bronze, holding a spear too large for his frame. His face is familiar. It's you, not quite. Younger, fewer scars. Less weight in the eyes. He stares at you like you're a reflection gone rogue. I dreamed of you, he says. I think I was you, you reply. Then, without warning, another figure appears. Older, weathered, wearing your face, but carrying none of your hesitations. His shield bears scorch marks. His eyes, haunted, the three of you stand in. A triangle of recognition, and you suddenly realize this isn't a trick. This is a convergence. The hollow doesn't just whisper memories, it manifests them. These are your past and future selves, standing here, summoned by the land. Not illusions. Not fakes. Real fragments pulled from the timeline. The older you speaks first. She's not what they say. You nod. I know. The younger one frowns. Are we still supposed to kill her? You and your older self speak at the same time. No. There's silence. Then the ground shakes from beneath the stone. A figure emerges. Not Medusa, not. Yet a projection. A warning. A statue coming to life in the shape of her fury. The face is masked, the hair a swirling crown of serpents, the body half stone, half shadow. You raise the mirror shield dot. The younger you panics and throws his spear. It passes through harmlessly. The older one stands still, resigned. You walk forward. The statue hisses. You hold the mirror up, not as a weapon, but as a lens. The reflection shows not a monster, but a woman in priestess robes, her hair unbound, her eyes wide with trust, and then she changes to the cursed form, then back again. Then again, not flickering randomly, but asking you to choose. The younger you trembles, the older you weeps. You lower the mirror. The statue melts away. The hollow calms. Your other selves step toward you. The younger one vanishes first, fading into golden mist. The older one places a hand on your shoulder before nodding and disappearing too. You are alone again, but also not. Historians still argue about the nature of heroism. Was it strength? Cunning obedience to the gods? Or was it something else? Restraint? The ability to see a path and choose differently. You walk out of the hollow lighter than before, not because the burden is gone, but because now you know what it's made of, your past, your future, and the choice that connects them. Asterisk, asterisk, the sky above you is no longer the same. It's not just brighter or darker, it's sharper, like the world is now tuned a half step higher. The colors around you seem to carry more weight, as if the earth has started paying attention to your footsteps. You've crossed a threshold, not a physical one, a narrative one. You're no longer just moving toward Medusa. You're preparing to meet her, not as a hunter, as a question. The scroll hums in your satchel again. A new symbol lights up, familiar now. The goat satchel, the mirrored shield, and something new etched beside it. A single eye surrounded by concentric rings. You recognize it. The eye of the Gree. You frown. In every version of the myth you've ever heard, Perseus visits the three sisters, ancient and terrifying, who share one eye between them. He steals it, tricks them into revealing the location of Medusa. A classic tale of heroic cunning, but now you're not sure trickery is the path. Still, the map leads, and you followed. By noon, you reach a grove ringed with stone teeth mass, monoliths jutting out like the broken ribs of a buried giant. The light dims as you step between them. The silence deepens until you can hear your own blood whispering in your ears. Then, a voice low, dry, like gravel soaked in wine. You. Where the sandals of flight, another chimes in sharp, bitter. You carry the mirror of truth. And then a third melodic, with a faint tremble. You walk the path of mercy. You step into the grove center, where three figures sit around a fireless pit. Their faces are hidden beneath deep hoods, but you see the eye between them, glassy, red-veined, and impossibly alive, even on the ground. It rolls slightly toward you, blinking once. They don't stand, they don't smile. But they know you. We have waited for the one who listens, says the melodic voice. You are not the first, Perseus, says the dry one, but perhaps, adds the sharp one, you will be the last to ask. You ask them why they share one eye. They chuckled not kindly, because the gods feared our vision. We saw too much, and we remember what others choose to forget. They reach for the eye together, their fingers never quite touching, but somehow moving it as one. It lifts from the ground and floats before you, spinning gently. You seek Medusa. They say in unison. You nod. She is not what you expect. I know. You seek answers. You nod again. Then you must see as we do. The eye flies toward you and you don't flinch. It lands softly against your forehead, and everything around you shatters into light. You see her, not just Medusa, but her entire story, compressed into moments. A girl at a temple, laughing. A priestess kneeling before Athena's altar. A soldier's shadow. A scream. A curse flung not out of justice, but pain. Eyes that once saw beauty now turn it to stone. Hair that once brushed. Shoulders now hisses and coils. And you see her looking in the mirror. Not afraid, not angry. Just tired. Then you see yourself standing before her, holding the blade. Not raising it, just holding it. And beside it, the shield. A choice. The vision fades. The eye returns to the center of the sisters. You fall to your knees. Not from exhaustion, but from knowing too much all at once. You see now, says one, she is not the beast. She is the consequence. You breathe. The Gree offer you something else. A satchel stitched from hide older than myth. Enchanted to carry things no mortal hands should touch. For her head, says the dry voice. You stare at it. You don't. Say yes, but you take it. Historians often glorify the tools of the gods' mirror shields. Winged sandals, goat leather bags woven by the Hesperides. But what they rarely mention is how heavy these gifts are. Not physically, but morally. Every item you carry now represents a decision you'll have to make, a truth you'll have to face. You leave the grove without a word, the satchel bouncing. Against your side, the eye's echoes still buzzing in your forehead as you walk. The wind picks up from behind you. The Gree speak one last time. Remember this, Perseus. When you see her reflection, do not look for a monster. Look for yourself. You walk on, toward destiny, toward mercy, toward the part of the myth that no one ever wrote down. The wind shifts as you approach the island known only by whispers and warnings. The place where statues outnumber trees and the air always carries the scent of stone. You've reached the edge of the known world. Not in geography, but in story. The sailors who brought you this far don't dock. They stay in the water, eyes wide, hands clutching talismans like they're trying to bribe fate. You thank them, and they thank you. Back which is unnerving because you're the one going in. Teleria carry you gently to shore. Even the waves feel quieter here, like they know sound is a dangerous thing. You step onto the island. Immediately, the temperature drops. Not cold still, like time doesn't breathe here. The ground beneath your feet is a patchwork of moss, stone, and shattered history. You take 3 steps before you see the first one. A statue, a soldier, mid-scream shield raised. Frozen forever, you don't look too closely at the face. More follow dozens, maybe hundreds. Some kneeling, some running. One clutching their own eyes. You feel the weight of every footfall. You do not draw your blade. You do not raise the shield. You simply walk. Slowly, past centuries of fear and silence. Toward the heart of the island. There's no path but your steps know where to go. You pass a petrified deer, a shepherd and his dog, a woman holding a lyre, one final note carved into her fingers. These aren't warriors. They weren't seeking glory, they were simply near her, and that changes the story again. She wasn't hiding in a cursed temple, luring heroes to her doom. She was running. The cursed don't build fortresses, they flee into them. At the center of the island, beneath an overhang of rock and ivy, lies an opening, a cave mouth, gaping like a yawn that never ends. You hesitate at the threshold. Then you speak. I'm not here to kill you. The wind stills. I'm not here to take your head. A long silence. Then a voice. Then you're already the strangest of them. It's quiet, worn, dry like parchment. Left in sun. Not monstrous, not threatening, just tired. You take a breath and step inside. The tunnel winds downward into earth and silence. You pass no traps, no bones, no lair. Just a living space, cups, a cloak. A broken bowl repaired with gold. The little signs that someone has been surviving here, not ruling, not scheming, living. You see her before she sees you, curled in shadow. Hair coiled tightly into a hood of snakes, all hissing low, their tongues flickering at the edge of tension. She's not armored, not monstrous. Just seated, legs drawn up, one hand resting on her knee, the other on her heart. When she looks up, it's cautious, not lethal. You raise the mirror shield not toward her, but toward yourself. You show her her reflection, slowly. Gently, she flinches. Then she frowns. Then she laughs. A dry, bitter sound that makes your chest ache. You're braver than most, she says. Or more foolish. Maybe both, you reply. She nods toward the satchel. You brought the bag, though. You nod. The gods gave it to me. And you always do what they say. No. You say. That's why I'm still here. She studies you for a long time. Her eyes are sharp, intelligent, ringed with pain and something older than anger. Regret double quotes. Do you know why I'm like this? She asks, not like a quiz, but like a dare. You hesitate. Then, because someone decided fear was more useful than justice. She smiles, not kindly, honestly. They told everyone I was cursed for hubris, for tempting the gods. But the truth? She leans forward. I was punished for surviving. You say nothing? She stands. Her full form is striking, not beautiful in the way myths often describe, but powerful in the way truth is powerful. Undeniable, unapologetic, unafraid. I don't want your pity. She says, I don't have any. You answer. She nods, approving. Then you might just leave here in one piece. You reach into your satchel and pull out the silver feather. She freezes. That's his, she whispers. Hermes, you nod. He told me to find you. to see you, not to end you. She laughs again, softer this time. Maybe the myths will change after all. Historians often debate if Medusa was truly a Gorgon or just made into one by fear and time, but some now believe she was the embodiment of the monstrous feminine, powerful, uncontrolled, and therefore deemed dangerous by gods who preferred their women tame. You sit beside her, and for the first time in centuries, she lets her eyes rest on another without fear. Not because you're immune, but because you didn't come to conquer. You came to understand. Asterisk, asterisk, the cave is quiet, but not empty. There's the gentle hiss of snakes, the soft crackle of a torch in the corner, and the quiet rhythm of two people breathing the same air for the first time without fear. Medusa sits across from you, her gaze focused on the fire, not because it's warm, but because it's something that doesn't flinch. The snakes in her hair have calmed, curling around each other like sleeping cats. You know, she says after a long pause, most of them come here hoping they're fast enough. You nod, or clever enough, or stupid enough. She smiles slightly. They never are. She reaches for a cupstone, chipped. Functional land, pours herself something that smells like herbs and crushed twilight. You notice her hands are steady, controlled, strong. They always imagine me as a beast, she says. A monster hiding in shadows. But I used to stand in the sun, Perseus. I used to pray to the very goddess who made me this way. You don't interrupt. I was loyal, devoted. I never broke my vows. But that didn't matter when the god came. Your chest tightens. You know this part of the myth, the one no bard sings, the one rewritten by silence. Poseidon, you ask, quietly. She nods once. I said no. The snakes stir, and Athena. You prompt, almost afraid to hear it. Medusa sighs. She punished me. Said I desecrated her temple, as if my blood was more offensive than his hands. Historians still debate what Athena's role in the curse was. Some say she acted out of divine justice. Others claim she was protecting Medusa the only way she could, by making her untouchable. Still others believe she resented the violation of her sanctuary and lashed out at the nearest mortal. What's rarely questioned, however, is the silence that followed. You take out the mirror. Shield not raised, not threatening, just resting across your knees. She watches it without fear. That's the tool, she says, that lets you win in the old story. You never saw me, you just saw my reflection. And in that twisted mirror, they saw what they wanted, a monster dying. But that's not why I'm here, you reply. I know, she says. That's what's making all my snakes itch. You both share a small, bitter laugh. You reach into the satchel next, slowly, carefully. From it, you pull out something new, not the blade, the disc from earlier. The one marked Aletheia, truth. You place it on the stone floor between you. Hums. Medusa looks at it with narrowed eyes. That's from the Gree. You nod. They wanted me to see as they do. And now, she asks, what do you see? You look at her not through the mirror, not through prophecy, not through fear. You see a survivor, a woman betrayed by gods, cursed by silence, weaponized by myth. I see the cost of forgetting someone's name and replacing it with a title. She stares at you for a long moment. Then she reaches forward and presses her hand to the disc. It flares. Light floods the room, not blinding, not painful. Clarifying. For a brief moment, you see everything: her past, your future. The threads of destiny curling around both of you like vines on a cracked column. And then, it's gone. The disc dims. Medusa leans back, breathing harder than before. So, you're not here to kill me? No. You're not here to be a hero. You pause. No. I think that story's over. She nods slowly. Then why are you here? You think carefully before answering. to tell a different story. Medusa raises an eyebrow. One where I don't die. You meet her gaze. You risk it, and you survive. Maybe one where you don't have to. The silence that follows is deeper than the cave. Heavier. You've just broken the pattern. You didn't raise your blade. You didn't trick a cursed woman. You didn't steal her life to win glory. You sat. You listened. You saw. And for the first time in centuries, Medusa closes her eyes. Not in pain, in peace. Outside, the sky shifts. Somewhere far above you, the stars begin to rearrange. You don't leave the cave right away. The fire crackles quietly between you and Medusa, casting slow-moving shadows against the stone walls like fragments of myths unraveling themselves. The snakes in her hair sway gently, their hisses soft as they coil around her shoulders like a protective crown. So what happens now? She asks. You don't have a ready answer. Because this part of the story, it was never written. The bards never bothered to imagine a version where the hero doesn't. Slay the monster, where the blade stays sheathed. Where mercy is stronger than metal. I don't know, you admit. She exhales something between relief and amusement. Well, that makes two of us. You both sit for a long time in the gentle quiet. Not speaking, just breathing. Sharing. Silence that isn't heavy or awkward, but human. Eventually, you ask the question that's been burning in your chest since you stepped onto the island. Do you want it to end? She doesn't answer immediately. Instead, she reaches out and lifts the mirror shield off your lap, turns it toward herself. She studies her own reflection. It's not the face of a monster. It's the face of someone who's seen too much, lost too much, endured too much, and survived it all with teeth and memory intact. I used to, she says finally. I used to dream of someone brave enough to finish it. And now, she lowers the shield. I dream of someone brave enough to change it. You feel the scroll pulse in your satchel, and you take it out. The final sigils are glowing. The satchel, the blade, the shield, and one more now illuminated a heart. Split and mended. You touch the symbol, the cave shifts. Not physically, energetically, like it's listening now. Medusa notices it too. Her snakes tense, her body tightens like a spring, and then the walls themselves begin to hum. A low, divine resonance that buzzes in your teeth and bones. It's not coming from her, it's coming from above. You both look up, and in that instant, the stone ceiling cracks open like paper, and a beam of pure white light pours into the chamber. You grab your shield instinctively. Medusa stands, her eyes blaze not with danger, but with awareness. The gods are watching. Finally, a voice booms, not from the sky, but from everywhere. Zeus, you were sent to end her. You raise the shield not as a weapon, but a mirror. You angle it toward the light. No, you say, I was sent to see her. There's a pause. Then Athena speaks. Cool, controlled. She is a threat. You meet the voice with your own. She is a witness. Another rumble. Poseidon this time. She defied Olympus. You stare upward, refusing to kneel. She survived Olympus. The cave roars with divine fury, but you remain still. Medusa remains still. The disk of truth on the floor begins to glow again, brighter than before. And then impossibly a new voice joins the chorus. A woman's voice, soft, strong, familiar. Let her be. It silences the others. You don't know who it is. Maybe Neem. Maybe someone older, someone forgotten. A titan, a fate. A goddess never granted a name. But her voice holds more weight than thunder. And with that, the light fades. The ceiling mend. The world exhales. You both collapse. Side by side, not from exhaustion, but from the weight that just Lifted Medusa looks at you. I think, she says slowly, you just changed the ending. You laugh, it comes out shaky. Wild human outside. The statues begin to crack. Not all, just a few. One by one, their eyes open. Blink, remember, historians never wrote about that moment. They had no records, no eyewitnesses, only rumors. The tale of a hero who arrived, listened, and left with his sword unbloodied. Some say he failed. Others say he rewrote the rules, and a very small few. They say the statues on that island don't turn back to flesh, ... but they do learn to smile. Asterisk. Asterisk, you don't know how long you sit. They're just you, Medusa, and the sound of silence relearning how to breathe. Outside, the island has changed. The wind no longer carries the sharp edge of warning. The trees, sparse though they are, have started to sway like they're part of a rhythm you can't quite hear, but suddenly trust. Medusa stands slowly, her snakes lazily twisting in the breeze. They no longer hiss or strike. They just rest. I never expected to survive you, she says, smiling. I didn't expect to want you to, you answer. You expect her to smirk, or shrug, or roll her eyes like she's done this emotional honesty thing a few too many times. But instead, she nods simple, sincere. Then she says the last thing you expect to hear from her. Come with me. You follow her deeper into the cave, past the sleeping fire, past the pools that reflect the stars, even in daylight, until you reach a chamber unlike any other. The walls here are smooth, almost glass. The air smells faintly of lilac and old thunder. And at the center is a pedestal stone, ancient but humming with power. Upon it sits her head, or rather, a sculpted version of it. Stone, lifelike, eyes closed. It is her as seen through fear, legend, and centuries of misunderstanding. I made this, she says softly. You blink. You, what? It's the version of me they wanted, the version one became. I carved it. Myself, so they could keep it. You don't understand. Every generation needs a monster to blame, she says. So I gave them one. She lifts the stone head carefully, holds it in both hands. They used to come here looking for it. I'd show them this. Some ran, some begged. One or two swung their swords. What happened to them, you ask? She smiles, humorless. Nothing. The statue was already dead. The fear did the rest. You look at the carving, it's terrifying, and it's not her. I don't want to take this, you say. She nods. I know, but you have to. You pause. Why? Because they'll never believe you unless you show them something they recognize. They. Words hit you hard. She places the head inside the enchanted satchel, and it disappears like breath into shadow. And you realize this is how the myth survives. Not by truth, but by symbol. But she gets to live, and that's enough. She walks you to the edge of the island. The statues no longer watch you. Some have cracked, a few have crumbled, but none are afraid anymore. Before you part, she touches your shoulder. Not lightly, not gently. With intention, you'll be remembered, she says, but maybe not for the reasons you want. I'm okay with that. She leans in, whispers something you don't understand into your ear. A word, a name, maybe a spell. Then she turns and walks back into the cave, disappearing not into shadow, but into peace. The wind lifts, and from above, you hear the faintest fluttering. You look up Perseus, born not from battle, but from choice. He lands lightly beside you, wings wide and shimmering, like someone dipped a dream into moonlight. You don't ask why he's here. You know, he lowers his head. You climb onto his back. The satchel at your side hums with the weight of a lie you agreed to carry, and beneath your ribs, the truth historians claim that from the blood of Medusa, Perseus was born. But few stop to ask why such a majestic creature would come from so-called monstrosity. Maybe the blood didn't birth him. Maybe it freed him. Maybe compassion did what blades never could. You take off into the sky. The island of stone faces shrinks behind you. And for the first time since this journey began, you feel weightless. Because the hardest part wasn't defeating a monster. It was deciding not to become one. Perseus rises into the sky like he was made from it. His wings slice the air with effortless grace, each beat sending tremors through your body, not of fear, but of awe. The clouds part before him, the horizon bends for him, and you just hold on, not tightly, just enough. The satchel with the stone, Medusa's head, hangs at your side. A quiet weight that buzzes faintly with divine recognition. You don't look inside, you already know what's there. And what ISN, single quotes, beneath you. The Aegean Sea glitters like a spilled offering bowl. You can see islands, some you visited, some you haven't, some that may not even exist in this timeline anymore. And ahead. SCRIPHOS.home, sort of Perseus glides lower, and the island appears like a memory you forgot was real. The cliffs, the olive trees, the crooked little temple that's somehow still standing, even though you once accidentally set part of it on fire, trying to impress a girl with homemade fireworks. You land on the beach. The people are waiting. They've heard of light systems. Of course they have. News travels fast when the gods are involved. The sky's been different since you left. The birds fly funny. The goats are tense. Everyone's got that look in their eyes, the one that says something big happened and we're pretending we know what it was. Dano meets you first. She doesn't hug you. She just looks you over and says, "You look taller." You laugh, even though she's right. Then Dictys, the fisherman who raised you like a brother, walks over and blurts out, "Did you bring her head?" You nod. He's not excited. He's afraid. You open the satchel just enough for him to glimpse the stone face inside. His breath catches. He stumbles back. Everyone else sees the same thing. A monster vanquished. A hero triumphant. You don't correct them. You can't, because if you do, you'll shatter their version of safety. And you're not here to start another war. You let them believe the myth, but they know. She looks at you, her eyes soft and piercing, and she knows, that night, the island holds a feast. You sit at the head of the table. Everyone cheers. They drink. They tell stories about your bravery, your cunning, your mercy. They get most of it. Wrong, you let them. Because what matters isn't the details, it's that the story didn't end with a blade. That somewhere out there, a woman with snakes for hair is finally sleeping without fear. The stars shine brighter than usual. You lie awake. In your old room, staring at the ceiling that still has that one stubborn crack shaped like a harp. Perseus rests nearby, his wings folded delicately. His breath slow and steady. You reach into your satchel and pull out the bronze disc of a leady HEIA. It glows faintly, then pulses once, then goes dark. Its work is done. Historians will call this the return. They'll say Perseus came back with the Gorgon's head and changed everything. They'll argue about where he went, how he did it, and whether he really rode a winged horse or just had a very dramatic sense of stagecraft. But none of them will write what really happened, because the truth is too soft, too human, too much like forgiveness. You fall asleep that night not with the weight of legend on your shoulders, but with the knowledge that the story can still shift, that monsters can become people. Again, that not all gods are just, and that the greatest victory is sometimes the one no one sings about. *** by morning. Perseus is already changing. The village square, usually a jumble of gossip, goat droppings, and fish guts, has transformed into something ceremonial. Wreaths hang from windows, olive oil burns in shallow bowls along the path. And you're being avoided, not out of fear, out of reverence. Which is, somehow, worse. People nod too quickly. Kids stare, and then immediately pretend to be fascinated by a nearby puddle. Even the seagulls seem to give you more personal space. Than usual, you make your way up the hill to the small stone temple near the cliff edge. You haven't been here in years, not since that ill-advised attempt to leave an offering to Artemis that involved 4 feathers, a bad poem, and the accidental theft of a priest's sandals. Inside, it's quiet. Dano is already waiting. "You're not staying," she says. It's not a question. You sigh and sit beside her on the edge of the altar. "How'd you know?" "You haven't stopped scanning the horizon since you woke up." You nod. The truth is, Seraphos doesn't feel like home anymore. Not because it's changed, because you have. You try to explain it. The dreams, the mirror, the shifting constellations. You tell her about Medusa, not the myth, not the monster, but the woman. Her story, her curse, her choice to survive anyway. Dano listens. When you finish, she places her hand over yours. "You saw her," you nod. "She saw you," she adds. The wind picks up. Far off, Pegaso lets out a low whinny. Dano stands and reaches into her robe. From it, she pulls out something wrapped in faded blue cloth. She unwraps it and reveals a small bronze pendant in the shape of a spiral surrounded by olive leaves. "This belonged to your grandfather," she says, "before he was turned into a statue in his own courtyard for telling Zeus a joke about thunder farts." You snort. "Charming legacy." She smiles and fastens it around your neck. "You'll need it where you're going." You pause. "Where am I going?" She shrugs. "Wherever the story bends next." You spend one last afternoon wandering the island. You visit the old fig tree you used to climb, the cove where you saw your first dolphin, the crumbling ruin where you used to dare your friends to touch the statue of an angry-looking Hermes with no pants. Each place feels familiar and distant, like rereading a letter you wrote to yourself years ago. At sunset, the messenger arrives. No wings, no glowing aura. Just a tall man in a bronze mask and a tunic that has definitely seen some things. "You're Perseus," he says. "Most days, I've been sent from Olympus." Of course he has. He hands you a scroll sealed with the thunderbolt of Zeus. You crack the seal and read. The boy has become the blade. Olympus calls. You look up. That's dramatic. The man shrugs. They're gods. Drama is kind of their thing. You glance at Pegaso. He's already ready. Of course he is. You saddle up. The villagers gather to watch. No one says goodbye. Not out loud. But there's something in the way they stand, in the way they don't blink, in the way even the goats hold still for once. You ride into the sky as the stars begin to gather like a crown above the world. Historians will say this was the moment Perseus rose, that Olympus summoned him not just as a hero, but as a symbol. Proof that even the divine are watching what mortals choose to do when given the chance to destroy or forgive. They'll say the wind carried his name to the mountaintops. They won't say he almost turned back, but he didn't single. Because sometimes the scariest part of being more than mortal is admitting you still get to choose what kind of myth you want to become. Mount Olympus does not appear all at once. It doesn't rise from the clouds like a pillar of marble or blaze like a beacon across the sea. It begins with whispers, a pressure behind your eyes, the sense that the wind has started bending around you rather than through you. You fly higher on Pegaso's back. Air thinning, stars sharpening, dot, and then suddenly it's there. A mountain, possibly tall, shrouded in perpetual twilight. Clouds cling to its sides like gossip, and golden light spills from openings you can't quite define. It doesn't look like a place. It looks like a decision made permanent. Pegaso slows as you near a terrace, carved directly into the cliff face. No gates, no guards. Just columns older than time and stairs made from polished obsidian. He lands and you dismount. The moment your feet touch Olympus, your pulse changes, literally. It syncs with something larger and ancient rhythm that hums under the stone. The air smells of lightning, laurel, and a kind of expensive smugness that probably costs 5 drachmas a bottle. A figure steps forward to meet you. Bronze, mask, dark cloak. The same emissary from before. He gestures for you to follow. You do, he says. Nothing as he leads you through corridors where murals shift when you pass and mosaics whisper prophecies you pretend not to hear. Every few steps, a nymph or demigod or extremely bored-looking satyr watches you with the vague interest of someone who's already seen a dozen chosen ones this week. At last, you enter a vast chamber. The ceiling vanishes into stars. The floor gleams like a mirror. At its center stands a circular platform surrounded by 12 thrones, some occupied, some conspicuously not. This is the court of Olympus, and you are very, very mortal. Zeus is the first to speak, because of course he is. He stands thunder crackling faintly around his wrists like impatient jewelry. Perseus, he says. Son, you blink. ... Hi. He scowls at your lack of reverence. You have done what few mortals have dared defy the mandate of Olympus. You raise your chin. I didn't kill someone you cursed. He doesn't deny it. Athena speaks next, cool and calm, her eyes as sharp as the edge of thought. Medusa was never meant to survive. But she did, you say, and not because of her curse. Because she chose not to become what you made. Her murmurs ripple around the court. Dionysus claps slowly, wine sloshing from a goblet shaped like a goat. Finally, some drama that isn't my fault. Poseidon glares. You undermine divine order. Boy, you step forward, heart pounding. No, I questioned it. The room stills. And then Hera speaks. Her voice is soft, but not weak, like silk, cut with iron. You brought us her image, the stone head. Why? You take the satchel from your side and set it down. She gave it to me, so that you would think she was gone. So you'd leave her in peace. Hera tilts her head, so she still lives. You meet her gaze. She exists. If that's not living, that's on you. Historians argue whether Perseus was ever summoned to Olympus in life. Most say no, that such honors were reserved for the dead or the divine. But a few ancient scrolls mention a mortal who stood before the gods not as a servant, but as a mirror. A challenge, a choice. Zeus looks down at you, and what would you have us do? Let her go, you say. Let the myth die. Let the monster fade. He narrows his eyes. And you? What do you want? You pause. Not for drama, for clarity. I want to be remembered, you say, but not for the people I've killed. For the ones I didn't. The court falls silent. Then, unexpectedly, Artemis speaks. She used to pray to me. You turn, she's not smiling, but she's not frowning either. She did nothing wrong. No one argues. Not out loud, Zeus sighs, long and thunderous. Very well. He raises one hand. The satchel glows, then fades. The stone head inside. Gone, undone, erased. From Olympus, the myth. Changed, not rewritten, released. You are dismissed without ceremony. Without applause, because up here, mercy isn't dramatic. It's revolutionary. Asterisk, asterisk, mount. Olympus is not a metaphor. It's not a symbol for unreachable heights or divine ideals. It's a location, a geography of arrogance and lightning, a celestial cul-de-sac where the gods hold court and occasionally throw thunderbolts at things that annoy them. But now, as you walk its halls alone, unescorted, ignored, you realize something else. It's also weirdly boring. The corridors wind in impossible directions. One room is full of amphorae that whisper compliments. Another has a three-headed rooster that won't stop following you. There's a garden of glowing mushrooms. It's a hallway where gravity is optional. And then, just as you start to wonder if Olympus has an HR department, you find it. A chamber unlike the others. No thrones. No gold. No murals showing divine victories. Just a long, plain hall with a mirror at the far end. You approach it warily because you've learned by now. Mirrors on this journey do not behave. This one is tall, framed in cracked silver, leaning slightly as if it's tired of holding the truth. And as you step in front of it, it doesn't show your reflection, it shows your possibilities. You see yourself as a warrior, blade in hand. Eyes cold, statues behind you. Then as a ruler crowned, distant, people kneeling. Then as a shadow forgotten, nameless, the myth fading. And then finally, as you are now worn, changed, human, no blade, no crown, just you. And you choose that one. You reach out, touch the glass. It doesn't crack, shifts, like water touched by memory. You see her face, Medusa, watching you from the other side. She nods once and disappears. Behind you, someone clears their throat. It's Hermes. Of course it is. Nice pick, he says, leaning against a wall that probably wasn't there a second ago. I once chose to be a mango merchant in one of these. Regretted it for 3 centuries. You raise an eyebrow? Did you come here to give me another vague riddle? He grins. No, just to walk you out. You both head back through the winding corridors. Past the whispering amphorae, they call you thoughtful and very symmetrical. And toward the exit terrace. As you mount Pegaso again, Hermes offers one final word. You did something none of us thought was possible. You look at him. You changed the shape of a myth. From the inside. You don't know how to respond to that, so you just nod and take off. The sky is clearer than it has been in weeks. The stars shine without shivering. The air feels lighter. As if something that was coiled too tightly has finally loosened its grip. You don't know what's next, but you know it's yours to choose. Historians rarely write about what heroes do after the climax. Most myths end at the slaying, the marriage, the return. But you didn't slay, you spoke. You didn't conquer, you refused to become what they expected. And somewhere in the shifting sky behind you, a new constellation begins to glow. Not shaped like a sword, not shaped like a severed head, but like an eye. Wide open, watching, remembering. Your descent from Olympus is quieter than your arrival, and Pegaso seems to sense your need for silence. His wings glide without effort, cutting through the clouds like thought through doubt. The wind doesn't whistle, it listens. Below, the world has resumed its rhythms, farmers tending fields. Waves curling into coves, goats returning to their usual judgmental stares. It's almost disappointing. It's how normal everything looks. But nothing is normal anymore. Because you aren't. You're not just Perseus, son of Dano, or even Perseus, son of Zeus. You're Perseus, the question no one wanted to ask. And you're about to get some answers. Pegaso lands on a rocky plateau overlooking the sea. You dismount slowly, your body still buzzing from the altitude, from Olympus. From everything. Then you hear it, a voice. Not a god. Not a mortal's. Something in between. You turn and see her. A woman in armor made of sunlit threads and shadowed leaves. She's old, but not fragile. Her eyes carry storms and centuries. She holds a staff shaped like a spiral. And she's watching you like she's already read your story, but is curious about how you'll end it. You're late? Says, you're cryptic. You reply. She smiles. Fair. She introduces herself only as the archivist. I keep the stories that don't fit. You glance around. There's no scroll, no library, no shelves. Just the sky, the sea, the wind. She touches her staff to the ground, and a ripple spreads out, revealing a circle of memory, a ring of floating images. Battles, banquets, betrayals. Stories half-formed, some too dangerous, others too true. You're in most of them, she says. That's alarming. She gestures. To one image, Medusa, in her cave, lighting a torch, smiling free. That one's new. You nod. I brought it back. She looks at you, more serious now. Do you know what happens when you change a myth? You pause. People get angry. Worse, she says. They get confused. She tells you of timelines unraveling. Versions of Perseus who did slay Medusa now fading. Statues that never turned. Songs that no longer rhyme. You didn't just alter a story, she says. You opened a door. You ask what that means. It means others will follow. She replies. Heroes, monsters, people who've only ever seen one path. Now they'll know there's another. You sit beside her, overwhelmed. You're not being punished, she adds, reading your silence. But you are being documented. How? Comforting. She gestures, and another image rises. You, but older. Crowned. Alone. Not angry. Just still. This is one version, she says. And the others. She shrugs. Up to you. Historians never knew of the archivist. She appears only in footnotes, in dismissed dreams, in stories told by storytellers too tired to care if anyone believes them. But those who meet her understand this. She doesn't record the truth. She records the possibility. You stand. The circle of memory fades. The archivist smiles one last time. Go live the version they haven't written yet. You mount Pegaso again. Your heart steadier. You're not a prophecy anymore. You're a decision. Asterisk, asterisk, you soar low over the Aegean now. Not fleeing, not chasing, just moving. The water below you sparkles like a shattered mirror, reassembling itself. Piece by glimmering piece. The islands pass beneath like old friends you no longer need to visit. Some wave in dreams. Others simply nod. You're following the map, or rather, what the map has become, an internal pull. A gravity that tugs not toward geography, but toward meaning. You're not going somewhere. You're going when? The stars. Shift again, and that's when you hear them. The voices, not out loud, not quite, but deep, ancient, curling around your spine like roots finding forgotten soil. They say your name not Perseus, but another name. A name you haven't heard. A name you don't know how to pronounce, but still recognize. The name you haven't become yet. You grip Pegaso's mane. He doesn't flinch. He's flying toward it too. Toward them. The Titans. You land on a stretch of land that shouldn't exist. It's not on any map. It's not drawn by cartographers or sung by poets. But it's here. A plain of black stone under a sky that churns like a pot left too long on the divine stove. Lightning strikes the horizon in slow motion. The air tastes like copper and forgotten names, and they're standing in a half-circle R. The figures, tall, immobile. Immense, you recognize nothing and everything about them. The Titans, bound in form, but not in mind. Their eyes glow faintly, not with judgment, but with recognition. The largest one, shaped like a mountain with hands, speaks first. You bear the mark. You nod. The second one, thinner and flickering like flame trapped in a jar, leans forward. You've broken the thread. You nod again. The third woman with hair like braided rivers steps closer. You've done what even gods feared. You finally speak. I let her live. She tilts her head. You let yourself live. You frown. What does that mean? The Titans respond together, in a harmony that shakes the stone. It means you chose. Another voice cuts in closer. Familiar steps forward from behind them, human-sized, hooded, quiet. It's the Oracle, the garlic-scented one, the one with cracked hands and eyes like tea left out in the sun. Told you you'd get here, she says. You blink. How? Did you? She waves you off. Not important. What is important is this. She pulls from her robe a small object, a mirror, not the shield, a new mirror framed in night-colored metal, smooth as silence. This one doesn't show what is, she says. It shows what could be. You hold it up and see not yourself, but Medusa.alive.safe, teaching others to speak without shame, to listen without fear. Behind her, you not a hero, a storyteller, a gardener, a builder, not remembered for your slaying, but for your listening. You lower the mirror. The Titans are silent, waiting, and then the largest one speaks again. You are not fully God. You are not fully man. You are something else. You. Ask what that something is, and they answer, future. The Oracle smiles. Neat, huh? Historians never found records of the Titans speaking after their fall, but a few scraps unearthed from long-buried temples suggest they spoke only once to a man who was not a man, who carried mercy like a weapon and wore silence like armor. That man. You. The Oracle pats your shoulder. You don't need to decide. Today, she says, but you've got options now. And with that, she vanishes. Of course, the Titans fade back into the stone, not imprisoned. Not gone, just ... Watching you climb back onto Pegaso, your heart is different. No. Not heavier, just larger. You are not a weapon. You are not a prophecy. You are a possibility. And the world, it's finally catching up to you. The sky is darker now, though the stars glow with a clarity you've never seen before, like they've been polished. Just for you. You ride on not toward home, not toward Olympus, but toward a kind of stillness you didn't know you needed. Pegaso flies low over the coast, his wings barely grazing the tips of olive trees. The earth below feels quieter, expectant, like it knows a story is ending, but isn't sure what kind. You land near a cliff where sea meets sky in a long, silver sigh. There's no ceremony, just the wind, the waves, and the faint echo of your own name in the air, not shouted, whispered Perseus. You walk to the edge, shield on your back, satchel empty now. The mirror from the Oracle clutched in one hand. The other hand rests lightly on the hilt of the daggerknot in readiness. But in remembrance, then the sky changes. It's not dramatic, just a subtle rearranging of stars. Constellation shifts lines. Redrawn, dots reconnected. Your eyes follow it instinctively. You see something new forming. At first, you think it's your original constellation, the one that gods promised for your victory. Sword, winged horse, severed head, but that's not what appears. Instead, the stars outline a different image, an open eye, wide, watchful, calm, and behind it, a spiral, not a weapon, not a crown, a symbol of vision, of cycles, of stories that bend instead of break. You don't cry, but your breath catches in your throat like it's trying to remember how it ever moved. Without this much weight, then one more sound. A whisper. From the Titans, from the Oracle, from the trees, the waves, the snakes in Medusa's hair. They all say it together. Perseus. And not like it's just a name, but like it's a spell, a statement, a K. Myth being rewritten in real time. You look into the mirror and see yourself. Not the child of Dano, not the son of Zeus, not the slayer of Gorgons, just you. Tired, kind, mortal. Chosen. You place the mirror on the ground, not to discard it, to plant it like a seed, because maybe someday, someone else will need to see themselves to end. Know that. Being a hero doesn't always mean drawing blood. Sometimes it means letting go. You lie back in the grass, staring up at your new constellation. You wonder if anyone else sees it yet. If any bard is already writing about it. If some poor goat in Thebes is staring up and wondering why the eye in the sky is now trending. Historians may call this moment the repose of the blade. Others might forget it entirely. But you'll remember, because in the silence, in the starlight, in the space between gods and ghosts, you chose to be human and the stars. They remembered that choice. **** dawn arrives quietly. The horizon stretches in soft golds and blues, brushing the edge of the world like it's sorry for being so loud yesterday. You sit on the cliff still, legs dangling into the cool air, Pegaso grazing nearby on the kind of grass that definitely didn't exist before your myth got rewritten. It's peaceful, which is suspicious. So, of course, someone ruins it. Footsteps. Behind you, familiar. You turn slowly and see the one person you haven't faced yet. Zeus, not in armor. Not surrounded by thunderclouds. No throne, no flash, just a man. Tall, yes. Radiant, definitely. But there's a tiredness in his stride. Not physical, existential. Like someone who has read too many endings. He stands beside you for a moment. Without speaking then, so. You nod. So. He sits, which is strange to witness. It's like watching a mountain decide to be a boulder for a bit. You changed the story. You don't respond. He already knows. I wrote that story, he adds. You shrugged? Then maybe you should have sharpened your pen. He chuckles deep, thunderless. I never wanted her to die. He says after a while could have fooled everyone. You reply. He looks at the horizon. When you're a god long enough, you forget the difference between justice and convenience. You glance sideways. That sounds like an excuse. He smiles. It is, but it's also true. The wind picks up. He leans forward, elbows on. His knees, something you never imagined Zeus doing. I'm proud of you, he says finally. You blink. For disobeying you? For reminding me what choice looks like. Silence again. And then he adds, do you want it? You raise an eyebrow. Want what? Olympus. A throne. Immortality. You've earned it, technically. That's the way these things usually go. You stare out at the sea. The idea should tempt you. Power, safety, eternity. Instead, it makes your stomach tighten. No, you say? He doesn't react. You're sure. He asks, not testing, just clarifying. Yeah, you answer? I don't want to live forever. I want to matter while I'm here. He smiles. You already have. You stand. So, now what? Zeus stands too. Now, you go. Where? Wherever? Your feet lead. He begins to glow. Not dramatically, just a shimmer of stormlight returning to the sky. One last thing, he says. If you ever change your mind, look to your constellation. Whisper your name. I'll hear it. Then he's gone. The space he occupied feels warm for a moment. Then normal. Then yours. You walk back to Pegaso, who looks at you like he saw the whole thing and is debating whether to give you a congratulatory snort or just nudge you toward your next snack. You mount up. You don't have a destination, just direction. Historians will later call this your second departure. Some will say you rode off to teach, to protect, to live quietly under a new name. Others claim you went searching for other monsters to unwrite. No one agrees. But one thing they all mention that you left the satchel behind, empty, hung on a post near the temple, open wide, so that anyone could peer inside and realize it didn't hold a head. It held a choice, and every now and then, when the wind is just right, you can still hear Medusa's voice echoing across the cliffs. Bring the mirror, not the blade. You ride for days with no destination, only instinct. The world feels different beneath you, leader, quieter, somehow watching you more gently than before. Even the stars above seem more familiar now, like distant cousins you only recently learned how to wave at. Pegaso takes you across valleys and villages, forests and forgotten shrines. People greet you with cautious awe or comfortable ignorance, depending on whether they've heard your name or not. Some call you hero, others stranger. One little girl in a mountain town calls you Cloudman and insists your horse is a flying goat. You accept the compliment. Everywhere you go, you listen. You listen to stories. A widow whose husband turned to stone in the Gorgon days. A sailor who saw a silver feather fall from the sky and followed it to safety. A boy who swears his dreams changed after a new star appeared, one shaped like an eye. You never tell them who you are, you just listen. And then one morning you reach the coast again. The sea greets you with that same breathless hush, like it knows what comes next. You stand at the edge of the surf, sandals in your hand, toes digging into wet sand that has no opinion about gods or legends. This was always coming. That goodbye, not dramatic, not final, just enough. You take out the last item from your satchel. Not the dagger, not the mirror. Just a piece of driftwood, carved with a spiral. Smooth from the road, you toss it into the sea. The water takes it, carries it away without resistance. Behind you, Casso waits. You turn to him, he nudges your shoulder, then lowers his wings. You climb on one last time, not as a messenger, not as a hero, just Perseus. You rise into the air, not fast, not with flourish, just steady. Above the clouds now, you see everything, the islands, the cliffs, the places that once terrified you, the faces you saved, the myths you rewrote, the monsters you refused to create. And then without warning, you stop hovering because the wind changes and the voice returns. But not Medusa's, not Zeus, your own whispering back at you from the edge of memory. What are you, if not what you choose? You smile and turn the horse inland, away from Olympus, away from the stars, toward the parts of the world that haven't been named yet. Historians won't follow you past this point. There are no scrolls, no songs, no marble busts. But some say a figure was seen, sometimes on stormy hills or forgotten crossroads. A man with quiet eyes and winged feet, asking questions, carrying no blade, only a mirror. Asterisk, asterisk, the road turns to dust beneath you. Not because it's old, but because you've walked it far enough to wear it down yourself. The sun sets slower tonight. Or maybe you're just noticing more. You pass through a final village without giving your name. No one asks. A few people nod. A few smile. One woman places a fig in your hand without speaking, and you take it with a soft thank you and the unshakable feeling that kindness needs no witnesses. You keep moving. No temples now. No messages. No gods. Just the rhythm of your steps and the rustle of olive leaves in the wind. You pause near a grove, thick with shadow and bees. There, you see a boy crouched beside a broken statue, trying to clean moss from its face with a stick. He looks up at you. Was she a monster? He asks. You blink. Who? He shrugs. The one in the stories, with the hair. You walk closer. The statue is cracked, its features worn, but you know the shape of that face like you know your own. It's Medusa. The boy squints. Did she really turn people to stone? You kneel beside him, gently taking the stick from his hand and brushing the moss away. She could, you say? But that's not what she wanted. Then why'd she do it? You pause, because fear is fast and healing is slow. She was scared and angry, and she didn't get to choose what people remembered. The boy thinks about that then, without hesitation. He says, "I think she looks brave." You smile, so do the snakes carved around her head. You rise, leaving the statue in the boy's care. He'll tell his own version now, a better one. You walk on, and finally, you reach the last hill. You climb it slowly, not because it's steep, but because it feels like an ending at the top. You can see everything, the path behind you, the sea beyond, the stars above you. Sit, not to rest, to be still. You've carried the blade. You've worn the mirror. You've walked through prophecy and come out intact. And now, you just are. Not quite God, not quite mortal. You, and as the stars begin to dance into their nightly places, you see your constellation one more time. The open eye, watching, soft, knowing, not a threat, not a warning, a reminder that even myths can grow, that monsters can be mourned, that heroes can choose to become more than their orders. And so, you close your eyes and the world doesn't fall silent. It sings of possibility, of memory, of mercy, and of you, Perseus, the man who saw the end and walked away from it.